Hello and welcome to episode number 85 of the Maximizing E-commerce podcast. My name is Kevin, your host, and I'm glad that you're here because today we're going to be talking a little bit about persistence. And so if you're on my email list, I had sent out an email last week as you are listening to this, if you're listening to this in the week it came out, but it basically was before this episode came out, about a couple people that I thought had good persistence and things that they had, goals that they were going after, or they're long time in the business, or one was a friend of mine who was on Shark Tank, and she I think she holds the record for the most times applying for it. And so the thing of it is, we all have our own dragons we're trying to slay along the way. And the recent history has shown us there's lots of dragons out there to slay, and sometimes those dragons were hiding and they're coming out to the forefront. Those dragons got bigger than they were before, whatever that case is for you. And so there's this, I think, comfort in knowing that we are, as entrepreneurs, involved in our own destiny, and that we get to be the one to decide our fate. Now, granted, we can't control all the little bumps in the road along the way, and we've all had plenty of them. Some of those bumps have been beneficial for some people, and some people it's not been so beneficial. Like for myself, a lot of my products taken a dive pretty much all year in sales up until recently. Now the holiday season, they're going like gangbusters, even compared to last year. So I'll definitely take that one. But those wins, you take them as they come. And the interesting thing is, as we're rolling along in this journey, um, I think sometimes we get stuck in that, what is the grass like on the other side? Like, I know I am that way. And so I remember, about a year ago at this time, I was actually thinking, and sometimes not that I was looking to go back to the full-time world, the world of full-time work, but it was one of those things. It was like, sometimes I'd like, oh, it'd be great to be a pilot or something like that, or, oh, it'd be great to do da, 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 da. And, some of those, industries have been rocked recently. And so, my heart goes out to those folks that, have been affected by everything going on. But I was talking to a former executive, at a large Fortune 500 company a few months back, who no longer is a executive of a Fortune 500 company. I mean, this is a decision he made a couple of years ago, so this wasn't related to COVID. But he made the decision to go on his own and pursue something, and it was kind of giving away a job. I won't say his name because this was a conversation we just kind of had offline. So, but it was something where he had, very high paying, stable job. People thought he was crazy for leaving it. But now it's like we were talking about, there's a certain comfort in knowing that you control your own destiny. And so you can control the levers that you pull. And I know that a lot of companies out there have talked about, there's companies that have had major layoffs, and some companies, their layoff numbers might actually be larger than the layoff numbers that they're advertising, because they have a bunch of people on furlough, and furlough is kind of like this in between. Like, they didn't let you go, but you're still there, but you're not working. You're not getting, in some cases, those people aren't even getting benefits. So depending on the industry, I know some industries are thriving, but there's a lot of industries, I'm sure you can imagine, that aren't doing quite so well. And so those employees, they don't have the ability to go start pulling levers. They can't go into the executive office, go to the board of directors of the company and say, these are the things we're going to start doing. We get to do that. We as entrepreneurs get to pull those levers. We get to say, okay, I'm pivoting a certain way. And so I'm excited to bring on somebody today who has a situation similar to mine. Some people, their sales are way up, and I love hearing those stories. And some people, their sales have gone down, but it's not about the hand that's dealt to you. It's about the way you play that hand. So I'm super excited to get into this interview with my guest. So let's go ahead and get into the interview as we talk about her journey of managing the ups and downs of e-commerce. Well, one of the interesting things about being in business is having persistence and rolling with the punches, because I'm sure we've all learned in recent history. I don't have to go over all the things that have happened over the last couple of years, especially the last 8 months. A lot has happened in this world. And so we're all adapting to it. And so to talk about a successful brand owner and talk to a successful brand owner, I should say, and her journey along the way, and the twists and turns and corkscrews and loop-de-loops of e-commerce, I'm excited to have on Annie Barnes. So Annie, thanks for coming on Maximizing E-commerce today.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me today. I'm thrilled to be on the podcast. Yes, I'm be excited to share my journey, what happened to us this year. It's definitely a lot of ups and downs for sure, just like riding on a roller coaster. And I guess it's just part and parcel of the e-commerce journey.
Yes. Yeah. And I think just throwing it out there real quick. So I'm in Florida, and it's like 9 o'clock at night as we're recording this. And it's in the morning your time, because people might pick up, and every now and then I pick up in some of the words you use an Australian accent. So you're in the land down under, right?
Yes, I am. We're actually based in Perth, Western Australia. So we just passed 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. Yeah, I think we're
Yes.
about 13 hours ahead of your time there.
Right, exactly. You guys are ahead of us, so you get to experience
Yes.
Christmas and New Year's and all the fun days ahead of us. So I should ask you maybe at some point, what are you seeing in the future, since you're in the future right now? But
Oh, well, sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing lots of positives for the future for sure, especially with e-commerce. I think it's just exploded.
Hmm.
And of course, selling the right products that what people want. And definitely people are moving to online shopping. And having said that, I just had a conversation with my in-laws yesterday. They never purchase stuff on eBay. And
Mm.
my father-in-law bought a mobile phone on eBay. I was like, wow, he's never a person. He has to walk into the shop. So to me, that is like a kind of a high ticket item for him, and he bought
Hmm.
it online on eBay. He trusted it. So,
Mm.
and he's 83.
Oh
So
wow,
therefore,
he's also in Australia.
yeah, he's in Brisbane,
Okay.
and he never trusted online shopping. And because of the pandemic, he started shopping on eBay, and now he enjoyed it. That he bought a phone for my mother-in-law, was her birthday. I was like, wow. So I was like, could you imagine if he's doing that? How about everyone else around the world? And that's the reason why I see a lot of positives with e-commerce, and it's just going to get better and better for sure. We
I
just
totally
have to be, yeah, we're in the right time actually.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The interesting thing is, for those that are listening that maybe aren't aware, one of the things that's interesting about Australia is, correct me if I'm wrong, eBay is much bigger in usage than Amazon, because eBay has been around a lot longer than Amazon has in Australia. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it's pretty much entrenched in us, and that's the reason why Amazon will take a little bit longer to gain a market share. But I could see that it's definitely growing because they have widened their offerings, and quite a lot of products actually shipped by Amazon US.
Hmm.
And I've actually purchased a product, shipped from Amazon US, and it's quite affordable as well, and it's
Hmm.
fast shipping. And anything that is purchased locally and shipped by a seller locally, and we just get it within the next few days. So definitely, they definitely have disrupted the shipping and logistics industry here, where we used to getting delivery within a week, but then Amazon has made it a lot shorter and quicker. So yeah, definitely, I'm just going to see the trend is just going to grow with Amazon.
Hmm.
We just have to stick with it and play, the long game for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I love the optimism there. And just to make sure I understand too, so when you're talking about like people buying, getting goods from Amazon in the US, you're talking about on amazon.com.au, on Australian Amazon, right?
That's correct. Yes, it's listed by Amazon in the US. In fact, I've got my products here. I list it here, but a couple of them I did not list, and it was listed by Amazon US. So, and the price will be a bit higher. So I think
Hmm.
the algorithm knows, and they just want to fill the gap to widen the offerings. It's up to the customer whether they want to purchase it, and I did. Yeah, and it was very seamless, and it's just at my doorstep. I think from US about a week at a time was before the pandemic.
Mm,
So I think now it might take a little bit longer. You know,
right.
anything else, yeah, with logistics now for sure.
Yeah, but that's interesting because, one of the things which we'll talk about here in this conversation is Amazon is really pushing things to going international, and they're trying so hard to kind of fill in the gaps. And so, like we talked about, eBay is much more popular with usage in Australia because Amazon, I think, is only like maybe like 3 years old in Australia, so they don't have the
Yes,
catalog that they have in other countries. And so they're trying to fill
yes.
it up. So if you, as the listener, have signed up for, one of these programs Amazon has somewhere in your settings where they'll sell and ship to customers in other countries, that's one of them that they could potentially do. You'll always get more sales if it's local inventory because it's a better experience, price, and shipping for the customer. But still, Amazon's trying really hard because they really want to get into international marketplaces, which we'll dive deeper down that rabbit hole in a minute. But first off, I just want to say a little bit more context in how you and I know each other. So we met through Greg Reynolds, who I should have,
Runs.
yes, from Zon Support. I should have jotted down his episode number, but he was on earlier this year. Greg's a good guy.
Okay. Wow,
And
that's
that's
great.
how you and I met. And then also you and I ended up working together because you were actually one of the early adopters in my Done For You service to expand into Canada. So we can talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to like to also be upfront with everyone to know, how everyone knows one another. So how did you get into the e-commerce business?
Oh well, because I'm a stay-at-home mom with two young school-going children,
Hmm.
and I've always wanted to do something with e-commerce, but I don't have the experience. So my husband was on the Facebook or YouTube feed, and then there was an ad that popped up. There was a course offered by a local company, and he said you should check it out. So I did check it out. I was pretty impressed with what they offered. They seemed honest, and I joined them. So I picked up the course, learn it, and it took me, because being a stay-at-home mom, and at the time my kids were younger, I can't really do much learning or working during the day, so I do it at
Mm.
night after they gone to bed. So from 8 to 12 is my working time, and that's what
Hmm.
I love about e-commerce because it's so flexible. You do it at your own pace. So the first 6 months, that's what I literally did, studied and also looking after the kids, and it worked well. So within 6 months after starting the course, and that's when the product went live with our first product of 4 variations. And that was in early 2018. So that's
Okay.
just nearly under 3 years ago. And yeah, that's how we started. And we saw a little bit of success with what we offered. Because we just, with our products, we're selling medicine bags, we actually solve a need. It's because we ourselves are users of the product because of our son. And we just then introduce more SKUs with different sizes, different colors,
Hmm.
and then we grow a little audience by working with charity partners.
Oh,
And
okay.
then we never looked back since then. So that's how we started. And except everything went well the first couple of years. I was doing projection. We're going to grow even bigger this year, but unfortunately, no one we didn't expect the pandemic to hit. And yeah, being bags, people can't get out of the house, people can't travel.
Mm.
Absolutely. And the sales just started sliding back from March. April was the worst. And now we still haven't recovered. We are over 50% down from last year. And so therefore, we just have to learn to go with the flow, I guess, and just keep going. Most importantly, just have to be able to just keep going and taking this as a small bump. We'll have bumps, lots of bumps on the Amazon journey for sure.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. Let's unpack some of that. So you started off on Amazon in the US?
Yes, only the US. That's where we
Hmm.
started. Yeah, actually, yeah, we started in the US, but within like a few, I think less than about 6 months, then we started selling on eBay in Australia and through our
Oh, okay.
website. Yeah, not Amazon in Australia. I only did it like last year, I think, a lot later. But yeah, in US, that's where most of our revenue is from, and that's where our
Hmm.
focus is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good, 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 good.
Hmm.
So you started off on Amazon in the US and you kind of dabbled in Australia, figuring I live here, so I might as well do it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so you started off saying, okay, I see an opportunity for e-commerce, especially with Amazon, because there was a local company that was selling folks on how to sell on Amazon. And you were looking for the product and you said, I wanted to fill a need. So did you, did you, and I know there's different schools of thought on this. Did you say, I really want to figure out this product and make the numbers work? Or did you say, I'm looking at a bunch of different opportunities, potentially on like Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or whatever at the time, and then figure out the product? What was kind of your thought process you were going through?
Oh, well, I think I know a lot of people use a tool,
Hmm.
and in the early days, because it was our passion.
Mm,
So we started off because of our passion in the space, and because we couldn't find anything that's really suitable for us in Australia, and the prices were pretty high as well.
hmm.
And then I did, of course, I did look at Amazon. I did look at off Amazon platform and reading the reviews and why it's selling better on Etsy and so on. Then I found
Mm.
there are not a lot of offerings on Amazon US. I could make this better. And being the user, then we know exactly what is required, and reading the negative reviews, what exactly customer wants. So we actually started working. We spent a lot of time, actually 3 months, to develop the product, by making various samples from different manufacturers and just keep refining it. And being
Hmm.
bags, there are actually a lot of moving parts. It's not as simple. When we receive a bag, there are actually a lot of behind the scene work that is just massive, that we don't know how much hard work is put into getting a bag done.
Right, right. Material,
Yeah,
stitching, color, zipper. I'm sure you could probably do a
absolutely.
master class on all that.
I mean, actually, I must thank my husband. He has the technical knowledge because of
Mm.
his background. He was a marine trimmer, so he knows a lot about materials, and that was helpful.
Oh,
And that is
wow.
another reason why we got into the bags niche. But yes, now I do understand. I say, oh, the bag. Don't just take it as for granted. It's just a bag, but behind the scene, there's a lot of things, a lot of consideration making it right. So yeah, and that's how we started. And rather than looking at the tools, and for the variations we offered later and the different sizes, all based on need, because that's what the customers said they wanted. And we just keep offering that. So I've never really used a tool. I did use the tool somewhat, but it was because of filling a customer's need. And we just kept going that way until this year. And somehow, because there's less need, and therefore the sales was affected because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that because I'm a big fan of a lot of the tools and I think they're, have
Mhm.
good data, but at the same time too, if, you're using certain parameters and certain filters to go find the next great product that's, going to get you a Lamborghini and, you're going to,
Yeah.
retire rich on the beach, everyone else is trying to do the same thing. So sometimes
Mhm.
when you take a step back and say, what value can I create? And if there is an intersection between what you're interested in and what people are willing to pay for, in this case, because you lived in the world of the user of that product, you understood that. So I think it's, one of those things like, you can't just, I've seen people go a little bit too far that direction where they like are really excited about something and they put it out there but no one knows to even look for the product because Amazon is not a demand generation platform. It's really more of a demand harvesting platform. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
Totally agree. It's all about keywords. And to be honest, when we got this product ready, after a few months, we had doubts. And then, oh my gosh, there's not a lot of search volume. What if it doesn't
Mm,
sell? Have we done the right thing? We had doubts when we were just about ready with the products. But anyway, because we are already so far in, let's just do it. Just do it. And we knew that the trend is rising. Therefore,
mm.
in case it doesn't sell, we know that we could sell it elsewhere. So we just went with it. And thankfully it worked. So yeah, when we launched it, because being very new, I don't know anything about PPC. I just launched it. I still remember clearly on Australia Day, it's a big national holiday here. And then
Oh, okay.
we got two sales, just organic. So, oh my gosh, we got two
Right,
sales
right,
just
right,
like
right.
that. without PPC, nothing. I didn't even turn on PPC until 2 weeks or 3 weeks later when I asked the group, should I turn on the PPC? They say yes, or okay.
Yeah.
And, so basically it just started selling organically from day one. I guess because the product was quite differentiated in terms of color and design and so on. And then, it just grew and grew and grew, and we just couldn't keep up with the demand, and just have to reorder and reorder. We always short on stocks. So the first couple of years, we were pretty blessed that, we see how the business grew just from the demand and the relationship we built with our audience. And as I say, we work with a charity partner in the US, in Australia as well. And we sold a story, our story, and the charity partner story. And this is just exactly rather than using a tool, we just use the audience and build the relationships with our customers. So
Nice.
of course, with some demand, research with a keyword, there's still a demand for those products on Amazon. It's not like zero demand.
Right, exactly. You can't go into, going back, what we were saying before, like it's not a demand creation platform. So you gotta at least know that somebody's searching for it. And so if there's no competition at all, that's a bad sign. If at least there's a little bit, that could be a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. There is some competition, but very little. And so that sort of gave us that actually gave us a gap. It's a gap there for us to actually dominate the niche at a time. With we were just quite blessed. We managed to dominate the niche and just held on to that and built our established our brand and built our reviews and so on. And even with zero reviews, and it just kept selling.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Yes, and of course now it's different. Yes.
Great. Well, let me ask this question. So, you're kind of trucking along and you're looking at different ways to grow. So what have you found have been some of your more successful ways of growing the business?
Well, I personally always believe in brand, brand awareness and branding. And I think Amazon is also going towards the direction. We offer brand registry, brand analytics, and they even allow us to share through their social program and so on. So yes, I'm a firm believer in that, and that's the reason why I put a lot of time and effort and resources into building the brand, not just any products. If it doesn't sell, the next and next. And I will make sure that whatever we offer adds value to the customer and fits into our brand. And so right now we're developing a new brand, and I have been still doing the same concept, even though this brand is more general, but I have the avatar in mind, exactly their age, what they like, what they don't like, what their interests are. So that's how I started even with the new brand. Rather than just anything that makes money, just put it there, list it and sell.
Right.
So I rather develop it that way, and it's still using the tools to help me find a product that fits that brand.
Okay, good. We'll get to your journey and your new brand here in a moment. But I just want to kind of tell the tale of like kind of going through the twists and turns here in e-commerce. So as everyone can relate to, in many ways, our worlds were rocked for better, for worse, for up, for down, for sideways, for long ways, for whatever, back in March and April. So before then, though, you were trucking along and you were growing and you had growth projections. Now, earlier, we did talk about how, I had helped you get started into Canada.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about kind of what that has been like. And I haven't told you what to say, so I'm kind of curious here what you're going to say, what it's like, what it's been since getting launched into Canada.
Well, frankly, that is the best thing I've ever done, and I've often told my Amazon associates, I said I'm so glad I did that, and thanks to Kevin, for helping me, launch in Canada. Because when we're so busy, when we're just busy growing the business in US, I always wanted to expand like to Canada because it's next closest, but it's just don't have a time, also because this business is one aspect, I have to look after the kids. I just quite time poor. So when you came along, I talked to you and say, perfect, you can offer a done for you service. And yes, I'd like to do that, please. And you really solved my pain point, and you took away and get it all done for me, all laid out. All I need to do is just send stocks. You even gave me a recommendation with shipping, with taxation, which I did consult Ian, I think Fleming, with taxation. I did consult him later.
Okay.
And Yeah, so
Yes.
I
Well,
just send
Michael
stocks there
Fleming, who
and
is episode 2 or 3, I think, of the podcast.
okay, yeah, from sales tax and more, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, out of
yeah.
Rockwall,
So
Texas,
yeah,
but he's an expert on Canadian taxes, believe it or not, for those
okay, yeah. So
listening.
thanks for
Yeah.
that. So that was very helpful. So basically, you held my hand along the way. You helped me, and then we just sent stocks in. Just started selling from again, from day one, and with very little effort. Basically, it's because there's a lot less competition there. So our products could actually sell at a higher price in comparison to the US market, and PPC is also the A cost is seriously low, like only a few percent,
Okay.
less than 5%.
Wow,
So
that's
yeah,
really good. We're not promising anyone particular numbers here,
I
but
thought
that's
honest,
great to hear
yes.
your experience. I do find that generally speaking, my PPC is lower in Canada than it
Yeah.
is in the US. Um,
Mhm.
but that's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the workload. Like one of the things I think sometimes people have a little bit of anxiety of is, they go into another country and there's all these hoops you have to jump through, which
That's
people could do it
right.
on their own. I do have the service, which, not necessarily here to pitch the service, but I am genuinely glad that you had a good experience with that. Now, with that though, like what is the workload? Like, so I think people have this anxiety that if they go into another country, if I have twice the countries, I'm going to have twice the work. Are you finding it's twice the work of US plus Canada?
Actually, in reverse, I would say we're just very blessed because in Canada, there's very little competition.
Hmm.
So it was literally passive. I just send stocks there and list it, and it just sells. So we bring in about 10% of it. It's not a lot. It's 10% is still good in additional income with literally hardly any time. So it's literally passive. I just have to send stocks in. And but else in US, because the competition has increased, and as a result, then I have to put more time in US, ensure the PPC is going well, the price is competitive, and sending stocks in, and so on and so forth. So my focus is still in the US, and Canada is just bringing the additional stream of income without hardly any time. So yeah, I'm just more than happy for sure. And I will continue, even with the new brand, I will sell in Canada because as a result of your help, now we're in Canada, and I strongly believe it's so worth it. And also because if I send stocks in US, when I was short of stocks, I just asked the 3PL to send stocks to Canada, and it's quite inexpensive as well. So yeah, it all worked out pretty well. So I would definitely highly recommend. I mean, I know it's not a sales pitch, but I'm just so thankful for what you've done for us, and I can't recommend you enough for sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the record. I wasn't
Yes,
expecting that. So I do appreciate that.
it's just from my heart. I mean, I'm just so thankful because, especially this year, when with US, our income was badly affected. So the additional stream of income was very helpful, and we have a higher profit margin to help us tide through the bad times, because we needed the cash flow to hold
Hmm.
us, to get through the hump so that we could launch another brand. And otherwise, then, it's all about cash flow. So any
Oh,
additional
yes.
income, from
Hmm.
any other resources. So that was very helpful for sure.
Yeah. And, one of the things you mentioned earlier was it's a 10% bump, but even a 10% bump, if you're getting the same profit margin or even a better profit margin in your case, oftentimes,
10% over. Yep, sorry.
yeah, that might even be more than a 10% increase in your profit because
Yeah,
you have all these fixed costs that you don't
true,
necessarily add going into the other marketplace. So there's a lot of benefits in doing that. And it, like to your
true.
point, and it's nice you're still getting another disbursement every um 2 weeks. And also too, like think of all the things we do to shave another 2-3% of sales, whereas you could just offer your products for Canada, and to your point, just send in some inventory, and you don't have to get too crazy in the logistics. Just when you need to send more, just send more up there, 3PL or whatever the case is, or for me, just mail it out of my garage. There's ways of managing it regardless of whether or not
Yeah.
you're physically in the US, but it's a fairly simple way of getting the ball rolling. So I'm glad to hear you've having a good experience. Now, how often, just out of curiosity for the folks to understand kind of the workload difference, how much time do you think you're spending on PPC in the US marketplace?
In the US.
Yeah, like whether it's hours a week or how often you check it, whatever kind of metric makes sense to you to for
Well,
benchmark
I'm
purposes?
not a PPC. I'm not a PPC person. If I could outsource it, I will, which I
Okay.
did
Oh,
when the
okay.
business is better. So yeah, that is my weakness, I must admit. So I only check in like once a week for just half an hour to make sure that the beats and the keywords and research and so on. But yeah, I spend very little time on that. I'm more into a design concept person. And therefore, I plan to, again, outsource PPC next year to someone who knows all about it. I guess we all have our strength and weakness, so I rather work on my strength and outsource the part of business that I'm weak in. But it's just that this year we can't because our sales just gone backwards so much. We just don't have the resources to outsource it to a PPC manager.
Well,
And
and that's, I appreciate the honesty there, because
mhm.
the interesting thing is, we all got to focus on our, strengths and weaknesses, and at the same time too, we have to roll with the punches. So here, maybe outsourcing was something that there was the resources for, in the past, and now you kind of look at, okay, I gotta change things up a little bit. We got to make decisions. I mean, I worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies. I guarantee, I'm not going to say I guarantee, I know for a fact they've made huge decisions on, personnel and things like that because of some of the changes, because, it was, we're talking about like travel and tourism and hotels and conventions, like that business got rocked. So there's
Yes.
a, there's a lot there. So how much time, even though I know it's not your strength, how much time, just out of curiosity, ballpark, do you think you spend on it in a month in the US
Not
marketplace?
not a lot.
Okay.
Less than 5 hours in PPC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just say only do it weekly, half an hour. Yeah,
Okay,
sometimes a
so
little bit
you're
more.
checking it weekly. Okay, that's
Yeah,
that's a
weekly.
good benchmark. Yeah, and once you're kind of on a treadmill, so to speak, and you're doing it, fairly regularly, you don't have to spend too crazy time once you get your process down. How often are you checking it in Canada?
Barely, because
Yeah,
you see, it's a pretty small niche, and
right.
and because there are not a lot of keywords that we can rank for, and we already rank organically on page one for the keywords that bring in the revenue. So I just run auto with some, exact and phrase match keywords,
Hmm.
and then the sales just keep coming in. So it's mostly organic, and yeah, with Canada will be a lot less. Yeah, only once in a while. So it's still going well. As I say, it's pretty much passive. And I guess it's because of the niche, it's quite a small niche. And there's not a lot of competition. We are well ranked. We got the Amazon's Choice Badge and so on. So yeah, we just have to make sure we keep an offering. And because we do
Hmm.
have some audience in our social media that's from Canada as well, that
Okay.
some of them are quite loyal. They tell their friends. So I guess that helps. And so yeah, we just enjoying that little bit of advantage at the moment. But of course, then we can't still slack, and we have to keep up, and therefore improve on it for sure.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your honesty with the PPC part, because like you said, it's not necessarily your strength or your passion. So
Mhm.
you're doing it just to make sure you don't get bogged down in the weeds on it in the US, where all of a sudden it gets out of control. But it sounds like Amazon in Canada, it's fairly just kind of runs itself. I'm the same way. So right now I'm checking it more frequently because we're in the middle of the holiday season, and just like the US has a holiday season, there's a holiday season in Canada. My products lend themselves to that. And what's interesting is in Canada, well, just in general in Amazon world, you can imagine most PPC reports, it's like a 2 month window max. I oftentimes will go where it's like there's a gap where I don't have data to use in the reports, because the reports only go back 2 months. And so, like, maybe it was 4 months in between checking it, but everything was fine. So it's like, well, I may as well go back and check it while I can. So yeah, I totally get that. So
So great. So sorry, great to hear. So even you yourself don't have to spend a lot of time on Amazon Canada as well. Is that your experience then? You find,
yes, and I'm
yeah.
much happier, because it's one thing for me, the guy who has videos about how to sell on Amazon in Canada and who has a business around it. But I love hearing it from you that it's not just me giving, like, my experience. And we get to hear your experience, and you've been doing it now for about 1.5 years in Canada. So it's something you've been at for a while now. So
Yeah. So
yeah, so that's good to hear that, you know, it's been a good experience for you ongoing. Now, it sounds like with some of these twists and turns, you're kind of seeing the writing on the wall that, like, I've been on a couple of flights since all this happened, and there are no full flights, and
no.
people aren't traveling. And I know pretty much anyone that had a travel related product, you kind of got
Yes.
to just roll with it. So were you looking, and I know you've mentioned a couple times you're working on a new brand. Were you looking into a new brand before this, or is this more of a um, reaction to pivot as the market's changing around you?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, I have considered creating a new brand, and I do talk to my accountant about our cash flow and so on. But however, because of the pandemic, because we've been so hard hit by the pandemic, that's it, just go with it.
Oh,
So
nice.
just say, let's just do it. I've been thinking about it, arming and ahhing. Should I just continue focus on our current brand and grow it? Or because I just do not want to get distracted, And but then since because of we are an outdoor product, we're doing an outdoor product. I say
Mm,
let's do something that is indoor and that can spread across different categories to diversify the risk. So because of this COVID-19, and as a result, we say just push a button, we'll do this. So, and that's the reason why then I started asking around about should I create a second brand, a second account, or with the same account. I was not sure. And anyway, I decided to just maintain within the same account, but a second brand, a different totally different, not related, not so much of a passion product. I guess at the end of the day, it's still business that I hope to build it and sell it within 3 to 4 years.
okay.
And yeah, so taking that into consideration, then I chose the brand name wisely, and so that it's not too niche, something broader that still has a meaningful brand that I could sell across different categories to a certain customer, certain avatar.
Okay.
So that's how I started the second brand. Yes.
Interesting. So I think we all, once we've been in this business for a couple years, we start looking at some of the things like, if I was to start over again, I would do things a little bit differently. So what are some of
Yes.
the things, if you don't mind sharing, that you like kind of learned from the first time? You kind of alluded to some of it there, but like, I kind of like to hear about what are those things that you are doing differently based on what you learned with your first brand?
Yes, I guess at the end of the day, if Amazon is a very, it's all about data, it's all about algorithm.
Hmm.
So I guess, maybe I should use the word lucky that, we somehow using a passion product, we managed to break into the space in Amazon. But as the competition increases, that might not be the case, or maybe. So definitely we need some sort of data to just back us up to validate the products.
Hmm.
So if I look back, if I start over again, I'll be doing what I'm doing right now with something that's broader, that I could sell across different categories and just to diversify
Mm,
the risk rather than just stick to one, because of my brand name, the current brand is so specific that it's just quite hard to introduce something else that is not related. So the
right,
new brand
right.
is just sort of broader, and therefore it could be applicable in different categories within a certain niche, so to speak. And also, I would rather focus, because when I first started, I sort of gung ho. I started in US, I started in Australia, website, eBay, and being a full-time mom, that was really full on for me. It was
Hmm.
really hard, trying to be like an octopus doing too much. So now I've learned along the way, it's just best to focus, and therefore start off on Amazon, establish a brand there, and build out all our legs until we are quite strong on Amazon platform, US platform. Then we can move to Amazon Canada. And then the website is just going to be like a brand awareness rather than
Mm,
trying to create a website for sale. I know that there are two schools of thought about building on Amazon and off Amazon. And I was trying to do that last year with my brand, and that took a lot of resources and time away. And as a result, I should have launched more product rather than trying to build the business of Amazon to diversify the risk. So I rather say focus, build it out, and then once I learn more and have better resources, then I could build off Amazon. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do with my new brand. I'm just going to focus on Amazon, more like
Okay.
an FBA business. And then before I move on and move out to other platforms.
Okay, great. So in the other platforms, is you're like a lot of us where we've all tried a bunch of different things and some have worked out better
Yes.
than others. For the
Mhm.
investment of time and energy, what are you
Yes.
outside of when somebody here listening figures out the next Amazon.com, please tell us all because we want to know. But
Yes.
outside of Amazon.com in the US, what is the best return on energy, knowledge, your existing skill set, whatever metric makes sense to what results you're getting? What would you say is that next platform?
Well, I would still say it's Amazon, but there's a different marketplace
Oh,
because
gotcha.
it's
Like outside of the US.
yes, outside the US, I
Got
will
it.
go to another marketplace rather than go to another. I know that there's some of them sell in Walmart, but then we are from Australia. But it's
Mhm.
just that when we are a different marketplace, yes, it's still listing it, but then you do things a bit differently. And then, Amazon offers fulfilled by Amazon. That was pretty helpful. Of course, now we have the logistic issues, not, it's a lot of headaches, but still, I suppose we just roll with it. And but still, yes, Amazon.com, and then probably expand to different marketplaces offered by Amazon, just to keep it simple. So then it's just the time. The more we do, the more time. And what is the return? And it's just my experience last year when I tried to do too much, and it ended up it's not giving me the returns as I expected. So now I've learned from it. I rather just focus, build out some legs first, then we'll do something else rather than trying to do too much, especially in the very beginning when I'm still new. I'm still consider myself very new. I'm no expert in the Amazon space. I'm still learning from the others, but that is exactly what I want to do. I want to learn and to be a better Amazon seller rather than an e-commerce seller.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's interesting is, I believe we should diversify, but it's that kind of danger of there's only so much time, so unless you have a large company where you have a huge staff of people, like maybe you have a
Yes.
team of people that handles eBay or whatever, there are people that crush it on eBay still. There are people that crush it
Yeah.
on Etsy. There are people that crush it on their own website, but those all become kind of their own skill sets. And so to your
Yes.
point, like the Amazon, once you get into the other country, I know it's sometimes scary going into, Australia or Canada or whatever country, if you're not familiar with that country, but when you get there, like it's not that much different than selling in the
That's right.
US because
Absolutely.
the platform looks the same, the
That's right.
cust
We're familiar with the platform.
right. And if you're in UK, Canada, or Australia, at least the customers speak English, assuming everyone listening to this must, if they've made it this far into the interview, they must speak fluent English or at least be able to listen to it. So any other parting words of wisdom as we close this out?
Well, I guess just just do it, I would say.
Okay.
Sometimes we would analyze because I do have families and friends who are interested in it, but then they think about it or they analyze. Where else, on the other hand, I found that if we just say, okay, this is what I want to do, and that's the reason why, yes, we need to have a strong why as well. And that's what I learned in the course, the strong why. That was very important because that's what's pushed me to work after hours, after looking after the kids, the strong why. It was very hard, to work from 8 to 12 every night for 6 months, but, and just do it. And then it just
Mm.
gets easier and easier. It was hard initially because you have to create a new habit and just keep pushing and pushing. But once you get there and say, it's not that difficult. Just like I first was quite hesitant to sell in Canada. I thought, I have to set up the business number and so on. How am I going to do it? But you came along and helped me and solved my problem. And once I start selling, it's not so difficult. It's sort of passive and bringing in an extra income without much work. So I say, just do it. And then the rewards will come for sure. And I would say that in a way, lifestyle wise, it actually has changed our family life. And we wanted to settle down and so on. How can I bring in more income to the family whilst looking after the younger kids? And this has allowed us. So I'm just very thankful because that we're on this journey that allow me to participate in the, in the kids school activities and program. I can be there, and yet I can be flexible with my hours and still bring the income in to the family and contribute in my own way. So yeah, that is what I've just say to other moms is everyone could do it. Even a stay-at-home mom can do it. So yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So wherever you are in your journey as you're listening to this, like Annie said, just go for it, because it's one of those things. You'll never learn to swim if you don't jump in the pool. Even if it
Yes.
means jumping into a deeper into the pool or wherever that is, you got to do it. So Annie, I really appreciate you coming on. This is a fun conversation. Always enjoy talking to you. I do want to commend you because, in the year and a half now that I've known you, you always come across so professionally. Your emails are just so positive and professional. And I really wanted to commend you for that.
Wow, thanks so much for your kind words, Kevin. I really appreciate it. And thanks so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be given this opportunity to share my journey. So thanks again. And it's my pleasure to share with you and your audience.
Great. Thanks so much, Annie.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation there with Annie. So she definitely had some good things to say, which I was glad to hear. But really what I loved it though is in her journey talking about the levers that she got to pull along the way, and the balance of what you do with your time. So I'll just say this: if you're selling in places like Canada, great. If you're not, I recommend you do, whether you work with me or not. But if you want at least some free guidance, you could go to canadachecklist.com and download a free checklist that walks you through step-by-step how to get launched in Canada. So that's at least a free resource that you can do. And again, walks you through step-by-step. It's a checklist, but it's like a mini guide. It's like 13 pages long. Goes into pretty good depth on that. And I've got some resources, if you go on my YouTube channel, would help you as well. So if that sounds attractive to you, but either way, I hope you got a lot out of my conversation with Annie. Always enjoy talking to her. She's got such a positive vibe and spirit. And I think so much of this business really is more mindset. I know we didn't get into mindset all that much, but it is the mindset of, continuing to go after things in your business and finding growth. So I'm going to wish you the best in your e-commerce journey, and you take care.